Hey guys, this is Nathan from All Things Headrush, and today we're going to show you how to do split signals from the 1/4 inch outs and the XLR outs on your Headrush core. So this has been a huge feature that I really loved with the original Headrush pedal board. And basically what you could do is take a signal and send it out the 1/4 inch outputs and have a totally different signal coming out of the XLRs. So why you would want to do this is maybe you want to send the full rig to the front of house, but maybe you want to send everything except for your speaker cab in the signal path and maybe send it to a power amp and a physical speaker on your stage. And this is just a very desirable thing to do because people really like sending stuff through actual physical speakers and not just using an IR or a virtual cab. So how we do this is really simple. We go to the little grid up here, go to global settings, and under audio, we can see we have guitar inputs and outputs, alternate guitar source, alternate guitar outs, guitar out 2, and we also have a vocal in and out as well. So essentially anything that is highlighted, that means you are sending that signal out that path. I do want to send my guitar out to the 1/4 inch output because that's what I'm physically using on the back of the unit. But we also have alternate guitar source, and that means we're tapping into the different parts of the signal path and saying we're going to send the signal all the way up to this point, and then we're going to stop, and then we're going to make it come out of some other output. So I'm actually going to take out my guitar out right now, and you're not going to be able to hear anything. Now, if I have the alternate guitar source being assigned to the rig input, that means my guitar is going to the input of the core, and the signal is going to be tapped out right there. It's not going to be able to go through the rest of the signal chain. But if I engage the 1/4 inch output, check what we have. Okay, so we essentially have just a dry guitar signal, but it's not going through the rest of the signal path. So now if we go in and look at our options, we can do Headrush amp input. So this is going to send the signal up to the actual input of my amplifier, but stop right there. So if you have any effects going into the front end of your amp, then those will be heard. So basically all you heard right there was just the tube screamer, because it went up until the amp input, but it didn't go through the amp input. So if I bypass the green JRC, there's my dry signal. There it is with the JRC. I can also bring in some other cool effect. Let's do a phaser so you can really hear what this sounds like. Okay, so that's all essentially dry guitar going through a phaser and a tube screamer. So now let's go back to our global settings, audio. So now I'm going to set it to the Headrush amp output. And this is going to go through the phaser, the tube screamer, and the amp. Okay, so it's going through the amp output, but it's stopping right there and not sending the signal through anything else. So now we have another option. We have our Headrush cab input. Now, at this point, you're going to have a few different options for cab input, cab output, and also IR. So depending on if you're using a virtual cab or an impulse response, that's the option that you want to have. All right, let's choose cab input. And the reason why you might want to do this is maybe you have your cab at the end of the chain. So it's going to go through the whole signal path until it reaches the cab, and then it's going to stop. See, there's my delays and reverbs. But we're still kind of getting that swarm of bees sound because we're not going through a cab. I'm actually using the 1/4 inch out into my audio interface, and that's what you're hearing. So let's go back to global settings, audio, and let's do Headrush cab output. And now there's my full signal coming out. Let's see what other options we have in here. We have the IR 2048, the IR 2024. We have a Headrush amp 2. So you could have one amp going out a signal path and then another amp going out somewhere else. We got the revolver stuff in here, amp clones. So really, no matter what you have in your signal path, you can always find a spot to tap out the signal. So one signal can go out the 1/4 inch, another signal can go out the XLR. Now, why you would want to do this, so let's go all the way back to our rig input. Maybe you want to have just a dry signal coming out of your 1/4 inch outs, but you want the full signal going out of the XLR. And what you can do with that is when you're recording, you can have the wet signal be on one track and then the dry signal be on a separate track. And you can always go back and add in guitar sim plugins or whatever you want on that dry track and just really dial in the sound however you want. Or sometimes when you're editing guitar tracks, it's nice to have a dry guitar grouped with the wet guitar. So that way you can see the transients a little bit better. Because when you have a distorted sound, the waveform is just like a block. And sometimes it's not very defined on where your transients are. So having that dry signal there can help with recording and your production. So now that we know the basics of how to set this up, so that's all the time I have for today, but be sure to subscribe and click the bell, because in later videos, I'm going to show you how to use this concept to run through different amplifiers. So thanks guys for watching. I'm Nathan from All Things Headrush, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep rocking.